We now move to our first forum for the day, e-waste, a key factor in ESG compliance and reducing carbon emissions, led by Mr. Stephen Lee, President of ESG Malaysia. Let's give him a warm welcome.
Hello everyone, good morning. I would like to thank Yang Brother Wan Fanny, right, for graciously attending our event, right, and for her time to be here with us. Okay, I thank all of you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, also to be with us here, right. I know that our time is very precious, so for all of you to come, we thank you, right. Okay, so let me just take a brief time to introduce what is ESG Malaysia. Okay, I am Stephen Lee. I'm the president of ESG Malaysia. Do I have a picture? Sorry for the technical interruption. Tukar slide. Oh, ada. Okay. Okay, so what is our mission, right? We want to become the center of excellence. We want to expand what is ESG in Malaysia because the knowledge of ESG actually is quite low in Malaysia because ESG just came to Malaysia a very short time ago in somewhere in 2020, right? So we have a lot of things to catch up to Europe. They are 10, 15 years ahead of us. But they expect us to perform as good as them. So we want to help people to become better, right? And be able to help the industry. After all, ESG actually is all about companies, right? The awareness is still quite low, especially among the industry. So this is where also we work with a lot of industry associations, right, to get the message to their members and tell them this is what ESG is about. And also because ESG, there's a lot of confusion, what to do, how to do it, right? So that is where we, as responsible citizens of Malaysia, we also want to do our part. Okay, so we are involved in many conferences, events, because we need to share our knowledge and experience. Okay, so we have also organized a monthly networking session where we invite these subject matter experts, right, to come and share their experience and knowledge about each subject matter. Because in ESG is not like your ordinary job. If you are an engineer, you only need to know about engineering and you don't need to know anything else. If you are HR, you only need to know about HR and nothing else. In ESG, under the E alone, you are an engineer, you need to know about energy, you need to know about waste management, you need to know about water management. In the social, you need to know about labor practices, you need to know about occupational safety. So there are a lot of things if you want to be in the ESG arena, you need to know a lot of things. You don't need to become expert in everything, nobody can become expert in everything, but at least you must know what is happening, what that particular field requires in ESG, right? So we have also a lot of MOU. This is with Curtin University. We also have other MOU. We have already expanded our wings all the way to East Malaysia. We have a Sabah chapter. Okay, so we have also MOU signed with Invest Sabah, Invest Sarawak. Okay, even in Peninsular Malaysia, you'll be surprised that most of the ESG knowledge is concentrated in the Klang Valley. If you go to Penang, you go to Johor, there are not so much knowledge, and a lot of companies in Penang and Johor will have to get consultants from the Klang Valley. So as ESG Malaysia, we want to spread the knowledge so that everyone can get help from their own area and not having to get somebody to go from hundreds of kilometers away. Imagine Sabah, one company wants to do ESG, they have to fly in a consultant over there. This is not practical, right? So this is what ESG Malaysia wants to do. We want to spread the knowledge so that there is help locally and not thousands of kilometers away. Right, so we are also a registered training provider with HRDC. Okay, so because companies when they go for training, they always ask whether they can claim from HRDC. So we are a registered training provider, and also we are also a registered assurance provider. Assurance provider, what do they do? Basically, when you do ESG report, this is your report. So nobody knows whether what you write in your report is real or false. So assurance provider basically is like auditor, where they look at whatever information that's in the report and they verify that this report, this data that you put in your report is supported by what you call some proof, right? So this, in the past, most ESG reports are no assurance. But going forward, because a lot more pressure coming from especially overseas, right? They want assurance. They say, I want to be able to have the confidence when I read a report. I want to know that what you tell me is true, right? So there is this assurance thing that is coming on. Even Bursa Malaysia now are requiring the public listed company to have assurance. Right. So today we talk about e-waste. So what is e-waste? It's all about electronic waste, right? So what a lot of it is, we use it, then it becomes old, it's no longer useful, then we throw it away. Or becomes obsolete. Those are all e-waste, right? The funny thing about e-waste is, although e-waste is a scheduled waste, a lot of people don't know that. A lot of companies, I think, probably under the SME, the S part, a lot of them would not comply to this and and dispose of their e-waste responsibly. A lot of them probably just get their general waste contractor, hey, please throw away my computer. Right. So a lot of compliance actually is from the larger companies, right? But we need to also spread the news out to everyone that e-waste is a scheduled waste and you cannot simply throw it anywhere, right? And in fact, I would say that, like Puan Fanny said, e-waste has got a lot of material that can be recovered, right? Many of us don't understand it, don't know this, right? And a lot of those big chips, in whether, even in your handphone, there's a very big chip. Whether it's Snapdragon, MediaTek, those chips contain gold, right? One small chip is very little gold. But when you have thousands of chips, you become a lot of gold, right? So when we talk about ESG requirement, now this is a framework from Bursa Malaysia, which means to say the public company must comply to this, right? So it comes to this, comes under general waste, because under the ESG they don't separate out the e-waste and general waste. But one thing I keep asking a lot of public companies is that, no, they have to report what is their waste. So I ask them, do you measure your waste? Many of them say no. So if you do not measure your waste, then how do you know what is the total waste that is being diverted from the landfill? Right, so in this case, when you talk about e-waste, the e-waste disposal contractor, right, they will be able to, they will of course, weigh your waste, right? How many kilograms? So this data is very important. This is very important. You don't just give away, my 100 computers, you just take. If you just take like that, people ask you, how many percentage, this is measured in percentage, how many percentage of waste is being diverted from landfill? I don't know, because I don't weigh my waste. I don't have any data on my waste. I just give away my waste. Right. This is another framework. This is supposed to be used by SME. This now was Versa's framework for public listed company. This is for SME. Same. Report total waste. Generated how much waste? So all waste, including e-waste. Again, you have diverted from disposal. So it's very, very important, right, that any waste that you dispose be measured. So in your case, when you are disposing e-waste, right, you need to measure it, how many kilograms. Otherwise, you would not be able to give any data to this, and you cannot do your report. So this is just a matter of become a university lecturer. Right. So what is e-waste? E-waste, as most of us know, right, it contains a lot of hazardous material, right, that can harm the environment, but a lot of people don't seem to realize it can also harm us, right? If we do not dispose of e-waste properly, it is not just the environment, it will also harm us as well, the people, right? So we need to actually dispose it to reduce the environmental impact. How does the e-waste, what are the e-waste environmental impact? Again, if we were to talk about just going to the landfill, right, a lot of these e-waste, like plastic, when it decomposes, it will generate toxic gas. Okay? Not only that, because of the rain that that falls on the landfill, it will start to corrode all the metal parts, and it will form leachate. Now, if your landfill is actual landfill, okay, a class 4 landfill, then you will have a leachate trap. Okay, but 90% of all so-called landfill in Malaysia are actually dump sites. Dump sites means there are no leachate trap. So when you have all this rain that goes through and corrode your metal, right, it will become, you will have metal, pollution. It goes into the ground and it may contaminate the water table. And then people drink the water. Right. So a lot of people don't realize this, because we think that we just throw it away, the landfill, the dump site very far away, it won't reach us. But the water table can bring the poison to many places, and we can end up drinking it. Right. So likewise also, again, just now I went ahead, right. So very important is why we need to manage the e-waste. We need to manage the e-waste, not just to reduce but also very important in the economic sense, that we want to recover the material, right? We don't want the metals that have been contained in the e-waste and just throw away. We want to recover them and then bring it back into our production process, so that we can reduce the cost of production as well. It costs a lot of money to mine minerals. Okay? A lot of money to mine it, and a lot of also carbon and environmental impact, okay, is caused during the actual mining. Right. So you can see, I think many of us will probably have seen how mining takes place. A lot of times it's open cast mining, where you have machines that just grab whatever from the surface of the earth, so you have big scars on the earth, right? So we want to also reduce that. How? By reusing our metal. Okay, the most recycled metal there is now is aluminium. 90% of aluminium is being recycled. Also steel, most of the steel are also recycled. But the problem is recovery of waste. For example, steel are usually being recycled, but only 10% of the waste steel is being recovered to make new steel. Okay, so this is a very important point. See, like for today, we want to enable the recovery of the waste. Right, we talk about, a lot of times we talk about e-waste, we are concerned about e-waste, but we forget that we need to recover the waste in order, right, to make the impact, the beneficial impact. So, when we talk about carbon, actually carbon is just a general term. Right, when we talk about carbon emission, it's a general term. But the official term is greenhouse gas. Right, so the greenhouse gas consists actually of 6 gases. But normally, we only concern ourselves with the 3 main gases, because the other 3 is very small. Very toxic, but very small amount. And the F gases are synthetic, are all man-made. Right. Whereas the other 3, carbon, methane, and nitrous oxide, these are natural. Okay, so when we talk about carbon, usually we mean the top 3. The carbon, the methane, and nitrous oxide. Right. So emissions, this is a very old graph, but then there's no new graph, so we just use this. See, even way back in 2010, you can see the carbon dioxide is a very big chunk of the gases, right? But also, the carbon dioxide, there are 2. One is industrial process, the other one is natural, right? So, but both of them combined, you can see they are 3/4. Okay, but the most important thing, why are we so bothered about carbon? Why are we so bothered about carbon? But when we talk about carbon, we talk about greenhouse gas. Does anyone think why we use the word greenhouse gas? Why greenhouse? Okay, so we can see from this is why it's called a greenhouse gas. Now, of course, in Malaysia, we don't usually have greenhouses, although under the new technology, we start to use greenhouse. But in temperate countries, in cold countries, we have greenhouse. Why? Because greenhouse traps the heat so that plant can grow. Right? It traps the heat within the greenhouse so that the plants can grow during cold season. Right? So you can see the heat comes through the glass and then it traps inside. Likewise, in the world, it's the same thing. We have an atmosphere that surrounds the earth. So the heat comes in, okay, and it gets reflected. It gets reflected back into space. Now, the earth needs some of the warmth, otherwise it becomes too cold and nobody can live. Right? But at the same time, we cannot have too much heat that is trapped within the atmosphere. Okay, so gases like carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide, they stay at the upper atmosphere and prevent a lot of the heat, right, from escaping the earth and trapping inside within the atmosphere. That is why we have this what we call greenhouse gas, carbon emissions. And what do these gases do? Right. It contributes to what we call global warming. Okay? When we have global warming, what happens? The earth becomes hotter. Right? The earth becomes hotter. So we have glaciers that become smaller. We have sea level rise because a lot of the ice is being melted and flows into the sea, right? We have also ocean heat becoming hotter. So this contributes to a lot of things which we actually don't see. Like for example, when the ocean water gets heated up, right? The fish goes deeper because it needs a cooler water, right? So it becomes harder for us to catch the fish. The fish goes to further away from land because in the middle of the ocean is cooler, right? Near the land is a bit warmer. So the fishermen now have to go very far to catch the fish, right? So if this goes on, very soon we probably cannot eat fish anymore because we cannot catch them, right? So there are a lot of things that are happening, right? Even like over nowadays, you can see when you talk about global warming, right? I think most of us can really feel, right, that days are becoming hotter. Right? Days are becoming hotter nowadays. So this is a picture of what you call Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. You can see here how the glacier is receding. Okay, from 1928 on the left, in 2000, you can see a lot of the glacier now has gone. This is the mountaintop. 1912, I see a lot of ice, but in 2008, only the very top has ice left. So this is a clear sign that the Earth is warming up. Okay, this is taken by what you call satellite to see here. These are two very important areas. Why? Because they are all permanent ice. One is Greenland, one is Antarctica. So we can see here, nowadays we have got ice, and in Greenland we can see a lot of ice loss. In Antarctica, that part there, when the ice, what you call the glacier breaks off, each time it breaks off, it's not a bit of ice, it's big chunks of iceberg and ice that flows into the sea. Now, what is sea level rise? Now, sea level rise to us, does that affect us? Okay? To most Malaysians, we are not affected. But to Pacific Islanders, they are the most affected. In fact, most Pacific Islands already suffer this. In Kiribati, right, this has gone up, right? You see, all this used to be what you call it, people used to live here, but the sea has come out. They are entire islands, small islands, and not inhabited. They are being swallowed up by the sea. Right. So you can see among the countries that are pushing for what you call climate change action, the world action on climate change and reducing carbon footprint are the Pacific Islands because they are the most affected. What is this? This is a projection. This is not done by anyone. This is done by a government agency, okay? See all the orange here? Those are the areas that will be flooded, go underwater if the projection of the sea level rise comes through. Okay, so you can see if you own property in Shah Alam, now Shah Alam is very far from the sea, right? But if the sea level rise happens, your Shah Alam property will have seafront view. Okay, the sea is expected to go right up to Shah Alam. Okay. Now, just now I've been talking about global warming, right? But a lot of places, a lot of people say global warming. No lah, where got global warming? You see, like in US, right, there was 1 year where they have this, what you call ice, right, that covered most of the US. the what, polar what something like, right? So they say, if you say it's global warming, why are we, right, becoming more colder, right? Why are certain places not becoming hotter but become colder? Now the thing here is this: when we talk about global warming, it's not just a matter of warming and the effects of it, but the effect of global warming on weather patterns. Right. So in some places, the weather pattern has been affected in such a way that instead of becoming hot, it becomes very cold. Right. So that is why nowadays, to clear the confusion a bit, we don't say global warming. Now we call climate change. Because global warming causes climate change. Therefore, when we use the term climate change, it gives the meaning more real to people. Right? So that's why nowadays you hardly hear anyone talk about global warming anymore. Right? And the word climate change is always used. Even JAS nowadays also come under NREG, right? Natural resources, environmental, and your CC taken away already. Now it's just environmental sustainability. CC gone to another, but before this it was CC under the ministry. Right. So the effect is, some places we have extreme weather and extreme effect. I don't know whether you all catch this video. Just a few days ago, I saw this video where they said Sahara Desert gets flooded. Right. Wow, desert also can get flooded. So this is the effect of climate change. Where certain places, when it used to be very water, then suddenly now very dry. In some places that used to be very dry, now you can get flooded. In some places you have a little bit of water, suddenly now you get a lot of flood. Like in Klang, right? In the recent years there have been a lot of huge flood, right? But before those huge floods, they say, oh, we have a bit of flood, but no problem. Now suddenly the flood become very big, right? So these are all the changes that are caused by this climate change. So what did the world do about climate change? Right, so we have this bunch of scientists. We have this UN agency called IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So IPCC, again, they created this data, and then in Paris we had this Paris Agreement, okay, whereby we want to limit the the temperature rise to 2 degrees C. Okay, I have to go back a bit because most of you will be wondering what is 2 degrees C. Right? Because our environment now is already, sometimes we have 34 degrees C. Right? In this room probably 18 degrees C. So what is 2 degrees C? This 2 degrees C is the temperature, the average temperature, right? Difference taken compared to before industrialization. Meaning to say, before the first industrial machine is used. Right? So at that point we call it 0. So we want to limit that 2 degrees Celsius, right, rise from before industrialization. Because industrialization is the main culprit of emitting all this what you call carbon into the air. Before industrialization, we are mainly agriculture. Right, you don't have machines that use fuel, right, that emit all this carbon into the air. Right. So we only have a lot of manual machines that don't produce carbon the carbon emissions. That is why the scientists are using that point of time. Right. So the 2 degrees C is the difference from that point of time to now. Okay. So the agreement was 2 degrees C, but they say that, okay, 2 degrees C is the target, but we try not to go to 2 degrees C. We try to go to 1.5. Okay? So what is 1.5? Okay, because once you go over 1.5, the effect will be a lot greater. So in 2022, IPCC came out with this report that says that business as usual, the world will hit 1.5 degrees C in early 2030s. So from 2022, suddenly you can see the world, the entire world, suddenly all talk about carbon. Suddenly from 2022, everyone talk about climate change. A lot of effort into limiting carbon. Of course, way before that, we have like for example, our Prime Minister went and committed Malaysia to reducing carbon by 45%, right? But that was a different thing. So there was a certain expectation, but once this report came out in 22, the anxiousness suddenly increased a lot, right? So now the thing here is, we talk about 1.5 degrees C in 2030, but at this point, we are already at 1.2. Some say even 1.3. Right, so we are very, very close to 1.5. We are very, very close. So that is why nowadays you can see a lot of, even the government now is pushing a lot more. We are now also, the recent budget, they have got this new incentive that probably a lot of people might have seen it but don't know what it is. CCUS. CCUS is carbon capture, utilization and storage. This means that we have mechanical machines that is going to suck the air, okay, suck the air from the atmosphere, isolate the carbon, the greenhouse gases, and we're going to capture it underground. We'll pump it underground and capture it so that we can reduce the amount of greenhouse gas in the atmosphere. Right, so this is where you can see a lot of more serious efforts are being made, because CCUS is very expensive. Those machines cost tens of millions, maybe even 100 million. Right, but the fact that we are already exploring that avenue means to say there is a serious issue. Now, this is the interesting part. Right, so when we talk about carbon emission, so now we want to talk about carbon footprint. Because carbon emission doesn't come out of the air. It has to come out from somewhere, right? It comes out from organizations. It comes out also from people. Okay, so let me just ask, how many of us here actually bother to find out our personal carbon footprint? You know, on the internet, you can just Google personal carbon footprint. They will come out with a calculator and find out how much carbon a person emits. You know, like for example, if you drive, then they will ask you what's the distance you drive, and then that's your carbon emission. So if you don't drive, you cycle, then you reduce. So I suppose in Malaysia there are fewer of us, but of course Europe, there are many people who actually seriously go into that. So you can see a lot of people say, oh, in cities we should encourage cycling, right? But personally also I say cycling, I don't know lah, because after cycle I sweat. Then some part office I have to take a bath before I work, right? But then this is our personal. So how many of you actually measure your carbon footprint? Tak ada. Right. So anyway, what are the primary gas sources of greenhouse gas? Of course, number one is energy. Energy here means to say the production and consumption of energy. To produce energy, there is a lot of carbon being emitted. You know, you drill, you use energy to drill, to pump it out, you use energy. The oil that you pump out is also carbon, right? And then when you use those, when you refine those and you use it as energy, then they become carbon as well. So in transportation, it's a lot because transportation uses a lot of fuel. So that is why you can see a lot of effort is going into greening transportation, electrifying transportation, right? But having said that, I would say that personally, you need to be a bit careful on vehicle electrification because we might be transferring the carbon emission from the car to elsewhere, right? Because if you're talking about Europe, they can do that because they have a very high percentage of energy that comes from renewable sources. In Malaysia, sorry to say, 80% of our electricity generation comes from coal and natural gas. We are pushing for more natural gas because it's slightly cleaner, but it will still come from fossil fuel, right? So that's why also I think the government is pushing a lot on solar farm, right? And maybe the savior could be hydrogen or ammonia or methanol, one of the cleaner fuel. Okay, but there is some time to come. The technology has not matured, so the only thing now we can do is electrify our cars. Right. So another one is production. Production means to say a manufacturing process. Okay, manufacturing process. The last one is waste, which includes the e-waste. But a lot of waste, like even Malaysia, when you talk about waste, I'm not talking about e-waste now, I'm talking about general waste. 40% of our general waste is what? Food waste. Just imagine how much waste, food waste, how many food we waste. 40%, and this is a study that has been carried out very often from years to years, right? And they still find it has been consistently 40% waste, general waste is food waste. So that is why now there is this also effort to try to cut down food waste, right? And a lot of our waste is actually organic waste, which includes the food waste. Organic waste means to say food waste, and then you have all this trees or wood, right? All these are organic waste, which we'll just throw into landfill and let it decompose, and then it emits the methane, it emits the carbon dioxide that contribute to global warming and make us very miserable. Right. So more effort has to go into mitigating all this waste, right? For example, now we are talking about composting, right? But still composting, a lot of people say very leceh, because composting is not just you throw it there and then it will compost by itself. When you compost, you need to, after a few days, you need to turn the waste, to let the composting process to go smoothly, right? So yeah, these are the four primary sources, right? And again, I have to emphasize, e-waste is something which a lot of us don't really pay attention. It comes so naturally that a remote control even remote control is also e-waste, okay? Remote control also just throw inside the rubbish bin, right? Some even handphone also just throw into the rubbish bin because they say, "Ayah, I have to go there and throw into that special bin for e-waste. Too much trouble, I don't want." So maybe this what I call collection of e-waste can be expanded to make it more easier for people to what I call dispose of their waste responsibly. This is very important, the word responsibly, because when we, how many minutes? Never mind. Okay, now net zero, what is net zero? Very important. A lot of us heard about net zero. Net zero is actually also reducing our carbon. Right, we want to reduce our carbon. There are several steps towards net zero. So net zero means to say whatever emissions that we emit, we want to make it back to zero. So we calculate what is our carbon emission now. First thing is we want to make it more efficient so that we can reduce carbon. Like for example, use more efficient machines, right? Use LED lights, then we can do it. Second one is to capture the carbon. Can be natural, can be mechanical, right? Once you have done all of this, the next one is also generate our own energy. So these are 3 steps. Once these 3 steps are all done, you are left with probably a bit 10% or 15% carbon which you cannot reduce anymore, and the companies will buy carbon credit to offset this. Right, so once these are all done and you offset, it becomes zero, that's net zero. Right, so a lot of companies don't like to do net zero because it costs a lot of money. You know, even the change machine costs a lot of money. You know, put up solar panels also costs a lot of money. So everything costs money. Right. So a lot of companies do it. Why? Because peer pressure, expectation, right, from investors, from banks. The banks say, you got to reduce your carbon footprint now. Don't have okay, I don't give you a loan. Right. Or lain dapat 6%, you get 10% interest rate for your loan. Right. So in Europe, that's what they do. The banks penalize companies for not complying. The companies that comply are rewarded. So this is very important now. Malaysia talking about transition to low carbon, right? So it's just like what I've just explained, right? Same thing. Transitioning is similar process to getting to net zero, right? You become more efficient. You generate your own power. You capture the carbon, right? And this is transitioning. So because we talk about transitioning low carbon because we cannot reach net zero. Net zero is for companies because companies can then buy the carbon credit. When we talk about economy, it's just coming to as low as possible. Right. So reduce waste. I mean, I've talked a lot about waste, but again, a lot of people don't forget. We talk about circular economy. We talk about reusable or recycled materials. This is good, but this is only at the back end. The more important point that we always miss is the front end, the extraction, the carbon, the energy that is used to extract the raw material, not to also miss out that these are not renewable material. You dig all the iron, one day the iron will run out. Right? These are not renewable. So as far as possible, we want to recover the material and reuse them. Okay, so what is all this about? Right, all this is about very simple, just to reduce your carbon. Reduce the carbon, reduce the climate change. And hopefully, we also save ourselves from all of this effort. right? Because even climate change now, if there's a flood, people can also get caught in the flood and die. You know, there are so many things that climate change, there are deaths that have been caused by climate change. So by reducing the carbon, by reducing the climate change, we are also helping ourselves and saving ourselves. Right? Do I have one? Okay, this is just for information. You can see the first one is primary, means to say these are the carbon emission, right? If you use raw material. Means if you use iron, then you extract the iron ore. This is the emission that will be caused if you use raw material. The second part is if you use recycled material, it drops down by a lot. So you can see here, the difference is almost 85%. Right, so please do your part, you know, help to recover the material, right, so that we can actually make this come true where we can reduce, you know, the impact to the environment, reduce the impact to the atmosphere, reduce the impact to the world. Right, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Stephen Lee, for the informative session. We are now honored to proceed with our next session, which is the ESG Award Certification Ceremony. Presenting the awards today are Yang Berusaha Puan Fanny Wong Nyut Yin and Mr. Stephen Lee. Let's take a moment to acknowledge the outstanding efforts and achievements in advancing ESG practices as recognized by ESG Malaysia. Please welcome. The first award receiver, University Pendidikan Sultan Idris, as a climate champion for their responsible disposal and diversion of 6.73 metric tons of e-waste, thereby preventing 7,201.10 kg CO2 of greenhouse gas emissions equivalent to a travel distance of 36,778 kilometers. Next is Jabatan Kastam Diraja Malaysia Selangor as the climate champion for the responsible disposal and diversion of 10.53 metric tons of e-waste, preventing 11,267.10 kg CO2 emissions, equal to traveling 57,544 kilometers. Next is Jabatan Insolvensi Malaysia Cawangan Wilayah Persekutuan, recognized as a climate champion for diverting 11.23 metric tons of e-waste, avoiding 12,016.10 kg CO2 of emissions, equivalent to 61,369 kilometers traveled. Up next is Daikin Malaysia Sdn Bhd, climate champion for diverting 8.98 metric tons of e-waste, preventing 9,608.60 kg CO2 emissions, equivalent to 49,074 kilometers traveled. Next is TM1 as a climate champion for their disposal of 20.97 metric tons of e-waste, preventing 22,437.90 kg CO2 of emissions, equal to traveling 114,596 km traveled. Next is Malaysian Transformer Manufacturing Sedang Berhad, awarded Climate Champion for diverting 5.10 metric tons of e-waste, preventing 5,457 kilograms CO2 emissions, equivalent to a distance of 27,870 kilometers. Up next is Hospital Pakar KPJ Rawang, Climate Champion for responsibly diverting 3.02 metric tons of e-waste, reducing 3,231.40 kilograms CO2, the equivalent of 16,504 kilometers traveled. Let us extend our heartfelt congratulations to all the distinguished recipients of the ESG Award certification. Your exemplary efforts in advancing sustainability and responsible e-waste management set an inspiring standard for all. Each of you has demonstrated remarkable dedication to protecting our environment, and today your achievements are rightfully recognized. We celebrate your commitment to creating a greener, more sustainable future. Well done to all our climate champions. Following the awards, we are honored to present an appreciation plaque to Yang Bersaha Puan Fanny Wong Nyuk Yin in recognition of her invaluable contributions to this initiative. We sincerely appreciate her presence at our event today, and her support has greatly enriched this occasion. Please welcome Yang Bersaha Puan Fanny Wong Nyuk Yin to receive the appreciation plaque from TNT Communications Sedang Berhad. Will be presented by Mr. Eugene and also by ESG Malaysia and also Mr. Steven.
Terima kasih.